Majestad, amigos, pacientes, it's really a pleasure for me to be here today. And I've been a scientist for almost 30 years now. And today I'm going to talk from the other side. Today I'm going to talk from the heart. Today I'm going to talk from the being a patient. And I could be, there are many things that could be discussed. I only have 7 minutes, so I thought to have 7 messages for you all to remember. So the first is that, and this we have heard about this, of course, science offers hope. And I'm a case, like many others, fortunately, that one day gets a diagnosis. I thought to show you some pictures. This is in a few days before Christmas in 2023. This was my final day of the diagnosis. And at that time, I had the opportunity of waiting a few days, and so the diagnosis was not good at all. And I said, no, I have to get into treatment, and treatment right away. And so I show these pictures also because behind a person that is being treated with cancer, there are a lot of stories. And people see me, my tumor type, so I have breast cancer. I was an aggressive one, by the way. But because of science, because of many clinicians and thousands, actually millions of women that went through clinical trials, I have a treatment that is offering me the possibility of hope. And I show these pictures because, I was fortunate enough to be able to continue, and I wanted to work, and I wanted to maintain my life. And this is, so in April, so one day I had to, at the clinic, it was 4 hours treatment and writing a grant. The following day I had, so it wasn't a word, so I got my wig, and then I went there, and then I kept going, and I keep going in cycles, and having the opportunity of winning time. That is what most of us, we want as patients, and winning time to participate in different events. And this was, the thing is that the journey is not done yet. So this was here in the left side, this was yesterday. Yesterday I had treatment I was 7:45. Okay, so I finished the treatment, took the train, and came here, and I'm very happy. And that's it. And I hope that like me and many people, we keep going, and we keep going because of science. But science is not enough. It's not enough for everybody. That's why we have to keep going. Okay, and this is my second message. And the second message is that we don't have time to lose. And sometimes people ask me, so what do you feel being a scientist? I worry perhaps a bit more some other places. Everybody worries, of course. But we know that tumor cells change, they evolve, they become resistant. So every time, every delay we have in of course in prevention, quite important, but in delays in diagnosis, in treatment, in monitoring, it's going to affect, it can really reduce years of life and years of good quality of life. So we have no time to lose. And this is very important. And this is for all of us, and I will have a slide at the end. So how can we all try to help together? The third is that really our options to try to get to the 70, all the patients want to be in the 100%, okay, but at least to get to the 70% goal of survival. So we should not depend on luck. Okay, let's see if this runs. So this is the team. I have been treated at the 12th of October is one of the best clinical hospitals, and so they're very active. So really, after my first round of treatment, it was a clinical trial open, and it got in, and I was kind of a second patient in this clinical trial. But this is, and sometimes I think how lucky I was to be in this place. And it's true that if I was born in a small town, in an aldea, in Galicia, if I were there, I would probably be treated, but it would have taken a lot more effort. And for sure, traveling, for sure, all the support around. So this is something that should not depend on luck. And we have very good scientists, and we have very clinical institutions that need to be supported so that all patients have pretty much equal access. And we talk about, and here, what can we do? And Ramon Reyes and Jose, they mentioned the need for, of course, all of us, for research. And not only research, we need good research. I will always support basic research, also translational research. But we have to think something. We may hear some politicians how we improved, of course, the amount of funding for research. But we are not even close, we never been close to the average of research in development in Europe. We improved also a lot on patents in innovation, but we are also behind the European colleagues. And then in terms of the clinical side, so we have one of the best hospitals. Spain is the country is actually the third country in number of patients in clinical trials, but that's not sufficient. Our clinicians are overloaded, so they need to be supported. And there are many institutions that need to help here, of course, but in part is the administration. We need to reduce bureaucracies and, of course, improve treatment. And thinking, very importantly, thinking on a long-term basis. So now, equal access, and this is, I mentioned this, and I have to insist, because so we have the potential in this country. We have very good doctors, we have researchers, but the patients are not all in the same situation. And I'm going to show you one example, and this is just one graph. And this is a graph that it shows years different, so how different years, and this is the time to wait. So when after many years a compound gets into clinical trials, gets finally approved at the European level, so the regulations and the indication is that from the approval to the actually getting into the health systems should be, this is the recommendation, there's no like about 180 days. Germany has always been behind that day, so they're very fast. They have their own system, but you see the yellow line. The yellow line is Spain. Spain, we have this year's improved a little bit, about 700 or 710 days, but it's almost 2 years for people to wait for a compound that is approved at the European level because it's effective and safe and is not in place. And there are ways that clinicians can go about trying to get special approval, but this, again, it's a lot of effort. So that has to change. So if we have resources, if we have compounds that are approved in other countries, they need to get to Spain as well. And this is, I'm just finishing, but so I like very much the flyer of this year of the AECC, and they had the patient, I mean the researcher in the center, and all of us helping around. And I try, and the Majesty, she mentioned actually that to have the patients in the center. And I think we have a lot to contribute. And we have a lot to contribute in just a couple of things. Of course, we are 280,000 in Spain, and there are millions worldwide. Just one message that I want to say, and this is for the scientists. Sometimes we talk about numbers, and we have like, 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women may get cancer. We have to start talking with a little bit more, I would say, empathy, and trying to understand that behind blood, paraffin blood, there is a person, and there is a history, many people behind. And please, we do not lose battles. We do not win, we do not lose battles against cancer. We cannot fight against our own cells. And this is, when we hear this, almost, and this was like a couple of days in the news. And that, so finally, so what can we do? And the needs that we have. There is needs, of course, in the end, we all want personalized, but personalized meaning that the research that is being generated is being put into place. But around that, there is a lot of psychosocial support that is needed. And there should be research on that, research on long-term survival, because we go through a lot. I'm not still a survivor, so I'm still doing it, but long-term survivors, I think there's some research to be done. And of course, communication. Communication is so important. One of the first worries that a person has is, am I having the best treatment? What's going to happen with the secondary effects? Where can I get information? And this is something that as scientists and also as a community, we should do much better in terms of providing information and go about disinformation, misinformation, and a lot of, situations where people stop treating themselves and start treating with pseudosciences that are not proven efficacious. And that's it. Now I want to talk about, but I know that I'm 2 minutes over time, but I wanted to show this in terms of patients. Why we matter. We matter, of course, we can provide material, we can be in clinical trials, but we can be very strong, particularly if we associate, if we get groups in with AECC or other groups, and definitely also as patient advocates. And advocates is not only for our rights, but advocates is to get our voice heard and our voice actually be taken into account into grants. And with this, I'm going to call, so the patient advocacy, so you know that the AECC has this wonderful initiative for patients in research. There are about 30 patients, and I'm going to call them here to the stage with me. So you know where you are. So because I want you to see their faces, and I know that there are many clinicians that they might think, oh well, a scientist now trying to evaluate my grant. No, they look and they read the grants very carefully, and they can evaluate and come here with me. And so, so this is them. So, see, this is only a few, but I think they deserve a round of applause because they. Okay. So, okay. So each one of them has a story that could be told, but all want to contribute. So I'm leaving you with this final slide and leave this big space for it. It's time to act. Each of one can help in our, wherever we are scientists, we are patients. So just call somebody if you have a friend and that is in cancer. Tell them what do they need. And if you are a scientist, and particularly if you are in the position of providing funds, just do it, okay? So it's time to act. So thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you very much, Marisol. Thank you all. Thank you, Carlos, Maria, Susa.